Welcome, folks. Welcome to Sankofa Summer School. I am your founder, Dr. Michelle Taylor. I am so excited. It is day 2 of Sankofa Summer School, and tonight we're in for a treat. I was just telling this person that I am ready to learn. I'm going to be sitting here. I'm going to be taking my notes, and I'm really excited. Tonight we have thriving in. I'm sorry, yeah. I'm getting notifications, and for me, usually I turn these things off, and I'm just like, you know what, Michelle, that's probably what you need to do. So give me a second. Let me do that. We know this is live, so folks will be whatever. Okay. Thriving in our truth, Black liberation, and gender expansiveness. It is really important to me for us to represent everyone from our community. And so I'm so excited to have Miller come forward and teach us. Okay, so let me let you know. Miller, who you can find at Thank You Miller, is a Black trans educator, facilitator, and strategist with over 15 years experience designing transformative learning spaces at the intersections of identity, leadership, and liberation. Known for their direct yet compassionate approach, Miller supports individuals and organizations in moving beyond performative inclusion towards lasting cultural change. Their work centers Black, queer, and trans ways of knowing, unlearning, and reimagining. From keynote stages to community workshops, Miller creates spaces where complexity is honored, accountability is practiced, guiding and care is a collective responsibility. Whether guiding difficult conversations, designing curriculum, or coaching leaders, Miller is deeply committed to helping people and the systems they navigate move from intention to integrity. He is the founder of the Miller Consulting Group, the MCG, where he leads work focused on gender expansive education, accountability, leadership, and workplace repair. So I'm going to bring our good friend here, Miller, to the stage. I'm going to take my seat. I see you all in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. If you're in the chat, when you come in, make sure you all hit that like button as well. We love to have you here. And so I'm going to back out, and then Miller, you're going to take over. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. T. I really appreciate you and what you're doing with Sankofa Summer School. It's an honor to be in the space and share space with y'all. Thank y'all for everybody that's already said peace and love and what's up in the chat. But I don't want to hold y'all. I want to make sure that we get as much time as we possibly can, even though we're going to be able to come back to this. Remember that this is going to be available to you on YouTube. So please come back and take notes and watch. So here we go. Thriving in our truth, Black liberation and gender expansiveness. I want to just start out the gate with the Combahee River Collective. A lot of people, this group of Black women created one of the most read pieces of feminist literature across the world. And that's the Combahee River Collective statement. And one of the things that often gets erased about these women is that, yes, they were feminists. Yes, they were down for the civil rights, but they were also a group of lesbians. Black lesbians in leadership trying to bridge the gap between the women's movement and the civil rights movement and the feminist movement. And so they came to us and they said, we realize that the liberation of all oppressed peoples necessitates the destruction of the political, economic systems of capitalism and imperialism, as well as patriarchy. And so as we move through this conversation, I just want us to hold that with us. Also, you'll see here, I'm pretty sure that these slides will be available to y'all, but you'll see to the left here where the names that are in bold there, those 3 women are the ones who actually co-authored the Combahee River Collective Statement. So if you ever want a Google search with integrity, search the Combahee River Collective Statement. What this space offers for us, this is not a training, this is not a performance. What we're here is to remember who we've always been, reclaim gender as a liberatory practice, and reimagine relationships rooted in care, sovereignty, and truth. Now, the reality of the situation is we're only here for about 60 minutes. So are we going to be able to solve all the world's problems in that time? As much as I would love to, as much as my heart, mind, body, and soul would be committed to that, let's be realistic. What we can do, though, is hold space for these things, hold space for the expansiveness of being able to not just leave here with a liberated notebook. Shout out to Erica Hart. But not just leave here with a liberated notebook. We want to leave here with actions and intentions that we want to actually take and integrate into our daily lives. So I invite you to begin with a deep breath. I invite you to soften your heart, and I invite you to open your mind, friends. So who's this person that's been doing all this yapping? Hello, meet your facilitator. Dr. T, Dr. Rochelle gave me a phenomenal introduction, and I just want to say thank you for those words, and thank you for the intention and thoughtfulness behind actually sharing that bio. But my name is Miller. My pronouns in this space are he, him, they, them, or my name, Miller. And whenever I'm in a space that is diasporic centered, I let people know that if you're feeling of your highest self, I also accept your excellence. But I am a recovering perfectionist, y'all. I got to be honest with you. As a neurodivergent person, I've spent so many times trying to figure out how to code switch, fit in, flip it and reverse it, like Missy Elliott says. And so now I'm just trying to show up as a whole being and as a human first. I'm a lifelong learner and a social entrepreneur. That's why something like Sankofa Summer School means so much to me to be a part of, because it is not only about giving information, but it's also about being able to make the information accessible. And that is so important. The work that I do is rooted in liberatory leadership and anti-perfectionism practices. Black, Indigenous, and trans and queer histories are always centered. We believe in collective care, healing justice design, and harm reduction. Some of the past work that I've done has been supporting nonprofits, creative tech organizations, aligned groups through culture change, social justice movements, and it goes on. I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, and currently I split time between the Pacific Northwest and the Midwest. So getting very interesting and different experiences wherever I go. And I think if I had to, for the too long didn't read, I'm a full-time human, part-time educator. And if I had to sum up my work in one sentence, I would say that I'm here to help people show up in the fullness of their humanity at work and in the world. So I know we've got some folks here in the chat. I'd love to know who's with us in the space, whether you're joining live or if you're here for the replay. Welcome. Please let us know how we can honor you in this space. I have a short script here for a self-awareness practice. Hi, my name is, and my pronouns are. You're also, and if you feel comfortable sharing, let us know what you're holding and hoping for today in this space. But please note that as you're sharing your name and pronouns, please share at your comfort level. This is, as a reminder, this is an invitation. It's never a demand or a mandate. So go ahead and drop that information in the chat, who you are, where you're from, maybe, and what your pronouns are, if you feel comfortable. Hello, Michelle. Thank you so much. Yes, rejuvenated. Come on. And as y'all are doing that, I'm going to also share some practices. So for those who just joined us really quickly, we're just doing some brief introduction, sharing our name, pronouns. I've already shared. My name is Miller. My pronouns are he, him, they, them, or my name, Miller. Yes, thank you, Moses, from South Africa. Hoping to learn something new today. Welcome. Practices for our time together. Well, respect is not a debate. Just have to say that plainly and make it as plain as possible for us. We center care, curiosity, and community. You don't need to share personal identity info if you don't choose to. Share at your comfort level, like we said before. And we honor lived experience and ancestral knowledge. I see y'all sharing in the chat. Hello, Maritza. Hello. Peace, y'all. Thank you, Buffy, Jen. Yes. Welcome, Madi. Thank you. So excited to explore curiosity too. Yes. So let's begin in the body. And just take a moment. Maybe if you're sitting, you can try to unclench your jaw, rotate your shoulders. I know I have a tendency to carry my stress on my shoulders, and so sometimes my shoulders make it all the way up to the top of my ears, it feels like. So take a moment and just relax and think to yourself, what do you feel in your body when you hear the word gender? What do you notice? Is it resistance, curiosity, neutrality, disconnection, joy? What do you feel in your body when you hear the word gender? Yes, yes. Wow. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. We are here together witnessing. Yes, yes. And just go ahead and take a breath. Even if you're sharing, even if you're thinking in your mind, for my introverted processors out there, I see you. And we're holding space for you too. For those who are extroverted processors or people who are just feeling comfortable and safe enough to share, thank you for bringing yourself and your energy into the space. We see you. We see you. And wherever you are, and on the gender spectrum, wherever you are in your learning journey, whether it's personal or for how you show up in community, we're here. And we're here to witness. Trivia time. Let's just take a moment. The answer to this will come a couple slides later, but I want to know, do you know who said it? Maybe a homosexual could be the most revolutionary. Who do you think said that? So we're gonna hold that. I'm gonna just keep that up on the screen for just a few more seconds so that we have that. But go ahead and drop that in the chat. And if you are coming new to the space, if you are on the replay, don't you go scrolling up in the comments. You drop your answer first, and then you go look for the answer. All right, I see you. I see you. Who do you think said this? Maybe a homosexual could be the most revolutionary. And don't be googling and don't be using no AI either. Come on now. So I want everybody to know, like, the social political climate, Dr. Taylor told us to keep it evergreen. And I hope that this isn't an evergreen fact. And I hope that one day this may have to be edited out. But right now, time, history, and presence has shown us time and time again that people continue to try to create up this myth that trans and queer leadership is new. Trans and queer people are a figment of our imagination. Trans and queer people don't exist. And the reality is, friends, trans and queer leadership is not new. Point blank, period. We had Stonewall and street resistance. We're talking in the late 60s, early 70s, Black and brown trans women, drag queens, non-binary folks who didn't have that language, masculine presenting women, unhoused, queer folks, use leadership as resistance and rebellion. Hello, we had ACT UP and mutual aid during the AIDS and HIV crisis, when queer communities came together and created mutual care and helped mobilize health clinics to be able to create radical peer support. This is leadership with strategy and solidarity. Then we have ballroom culture and chosen family, formed out of a need, offering safety, love, and support, and lineage, when the world and people's families were literally shutting the door on folks simply for showing up as who they were. Come on, Maurice, the 60s too, right? Transformative justice and harm repair, where you have trans and abolitionist thinkers like Erica Woodland, him, who who focus on building futures that are rooted in healing, not punishment. Erica's book, they co-authored a book actually with Kara Page called Healing Justice Lineages. dreaming at the crossroads of liberation, collective care, and safety. You see mine. If you can see that, you can see I got all kind of notes in here. But this healing justice lineages, it's stuff like that. And then even this flag here, this flag was introduced to the world in 2017. Before, the pride flag was simply just the rainbow, Roy G. Biv. But then AJ Hikes, they them, who is currently the deputy director of the ACLU, but at the time they were the executive director for the Philadelphia office of LGBTQ plus affairs, had the brilliant notion to add this black and brown stripe to a flag that had been there for forever. And if you want another interesting thing, you can look up the hate and the vitriol that came from all directions, even within the LGBTQ plus community. So for those who think just because you're LGBTQ plus, you're automatically inclusive, you're automatically down for the people, history has proven time and time again that that is in fact not true, friend. So keep on going. Who said it? Huey P. Newton, friends. Huey P. Newton. And just to give a little bit more context, he's like, but whatever, he gave a speech August 15th, 1970. So we're coming up on like whatever anniversary that was. And he was doing a speech on women's liberation and gay liberation. And this is one of the most radical Negroes we know. Okay. One of the most radical black men, leaders, etc., etc. Of course, Dr. Taylor, thank you for not dropping that in the chat, because then people would have been scrolling and all of that. But Huey P. Newton, he said, and at one point in his speech, he's talking about, but whatever the case is, we know that homosexuality is a fact that exists. And we must understand in its purest form that it is a person that a person should have the freedom to use his body in whatever way he wants. He goes on to say later in there that, and maybe I'm now injecting some of my own prejudice by saying that even a homosexual can be a revolutionary. Quite the contrary, maybe a homosexual could be the most revolutionary. Huey P. Newton. So when we talk about needing to have collectivism and being able to come together as a people and recognize that we all black, hello? And if we about liberation, it's got to come for all people. Hello? Somebody with me. Drop a 1 in the chat if that was surprising to you. That quote came from Huey P. Newton. Drop a 1 in the chat. I need to know. I see. Wow. Oh, wow. Yes. Like y'all, when I came across this speech, I was blown away. Y'all gotta look this speech up. There's, I mean, he even goes on to say that, people who are what we would say now as queer and trans people, or people in the LGBTQ plus community, are probably the most oppressed peoples across all communities. And I was just like, y'all. Whew. So colonialism and the gender binary, like, what did gender look like before colonization? Because let's be honest, like, gender is a social construct, which means it's made up. So gender can really be whatever anybody wants it to be. And we try to use certain terms to maybe give ourselves, as humans, we like to be able to understand things. We like to be able to associate things. We like to be able to group things. And so, we use these things sometimes to help us better understand, but we shouldn't be using these things as a point of control, even on ourselves, and how we show up and how we will judge ourselves for the ways in which we show up. So what did gender look like before that? I mean, there are many African societies and indigenous cultures that, and just for clarity, there are Black indigenous cultures, there are African indigenous cultures, just for clarity, that have recognized multiple genders. There are even languages that don't even use gender at all. There aren't gendered terms. So when we come to here in the States, where we finally decide that they them can be individual, and like make it some sort of formalized thing, when we've already been using that. If someone leaves their phone on the counter, I just did it. Like someone left their phone on the counter. Do we know whose phone this is? Hey, has anyone seen Miller? Yeah, they just went to the store. We already do that. Or when we're trying to be discreet and telling a story, well, I didn't know, but they said. Now, now tell me I'm lying. If I'm lying, let me know in the chat. Like I'm here for healthy debate and banter. If I'm lying, I'm flying. But I feel like we done all told a story or two and had they them pronouns all up in through that story. Okay. Colonialism enforced binary gender and Christianized patriarchy. One of the terms that I love is from Bell Hook, where she talks about white supremacist capitalistic patriarchy. And I think the only thing that was missing was something that outlined the ways in which religion influences society and culture as well. But those things were enforced in all kinds of ways, from men not being able to have long hair, to women having to show up in a certain way and wear a certain garb or cover themselves in a certain way, things that were made out to be savagery, and all of these things that was really just a lack of understanding and ignorance to other people's culture. And quite frankly, people needing to be able to mind their own business, because that's always free, right? And then gender norms became tools of control and erasure. We started using these things as ways to, dare I say, police, dare I say, harass, dare I say, make people feel less than, and try to find ways to elevate ourselves and others. We use they, them pronouns on elders instead of their name as a sign of respect, at least in South Africa. Yes, like globally, culturally, it's everywhere, people. It's not new. And even if something is new to you, that don't mean that it's new to everybody else. I digress. A mindful note, I'm going to go over some, this would be similar to like a content warning or context warning, just to let people know we're going to go into some language that may be common, maybe not so common terminology describing human development, human interaction, and that could also include reproductive systems in the body. So I just want to make sure that people have access to that and have ways to care for themselves in whatever ways they need to for that. So some gender, let's review some gender health and personal identity terms. I think it's nice to have just a baseline. I also want to note that information can change, terms can change often, and so please don't use this as something that's set in stone. It is not. It things and people identify and use language in different ways, but I just want to offer us something as we are moving through the conversation, and maybe language has been used. I've already used gender expression and identity. Dr. Taylor's already informed folks that I am a Black trans educator. So what does that mean? So we have gender identity here, a person's inner sense of their gender. Quite literally, people assign their own gender to themselves. It is their own personal experience and sense of self. Sex assigned at birth, it's usually the marker on a person's original birth certificate, often male and female. Again, this is mostly in the Western culture and in the States, but there are oftentimes other places that use sex as a way to identify folks on personal identification. Cisgender, I just want to say this: cisgender is not a dirty word. Cisgender is not a bad word. Cisgender is not a slur. Okay, a little bit louder for the people in the back. Cisgender is not a bad word. Okay, but what it just means is that a person's gender identity matches their sex assigned at birth. So someone was born, doctor looked at them, said male. This person grows up, lives life, says, yes, I agree, I am male. Transgender is quite literally the opposite. I also like to tell people that cisgender is someone who's not, is a cisgender person is someone who is not trans, someone who's not transgender. I mean, that's also a very simple definition for that. Likely, if you're not transgender, you may be cisgender. Maybe. Transgender is a person's identity that differs from their sex assigned at birth. So, someone's born, doctor looks at them, they say male, person grows up, says doctor was incorrect. I mean, I would surely believe an individual over someone, over a stranger, someone who've only met them for 10 seconds. I mean, how long? Not to make light of it, but it's a matter of understanding that it's just simply it's the opposite of what was assigned. Non-binary. Sometimes people wonder if non-binary folks are trans. It could be possible. It could be not. This is someone whose identity is not necessarily male or female. Some people experience the identity that shifts over time. They could be feminine, masculine, and or androgynous. They don't have to be any type of representation. Other related terms to non-binary could be gender fluid, gender queer, gender questioning, exploring, agender. There's so many different ways in which they show up. Two-spirit, and that's spelled two different ways here, and that's a complex understanding of gender and spirituality within some, please emphasize the some, indigenous cultures. Not all, but some. A term that's not on here and that should be, and that's an error on my part, is intersex, and that's INTERSEX. And this is a person whose reproductive or external genitals may not reflect the same type of identity. So they could have a reproductive system that would normally be assigned to someone at male, and perhaps external features that would be assigned to someone as female, or vice versa. They could have a combination of both. There are people who I know who have vulvas and testes, or testes and a vulva, or I just said that, or a penis and ovaries. And so as I shared with that content warning before, just a mention of reproductive and sexual wellness and health and gendered health, to understand what these terms are. And so again, that's intersex. And people are like, oh, like, well, intersex is not that common. These people are born this way. And in fact, intersex people, there's a stating that they're, within 3% of the population. They're as popular as people who have red hair or green eyes. And there was a study done by another organization who we won't name, but the research was actually pretty insightful research, that there are more transgender people in the United States than there are McDonald's, Starbucks, and Walmart's combined. Just to give people an idea of when we're not talking about a small population of people, but even if we were, would that change the fact that people deserve to show up in the fullness of who they are? People have the right to live and exist in a world that they have access to quality healthcare and quality standard of living. Moving on, which brings us to, as we said before, gender expression and gender roles and bodily autonomy. Gender expression is the outward way a person embodies and communicates their gender through maybe things like clothing or voice, movement, hair, behavior, or other external choices, whether intentional or not. Gender roles, a set of societal expectations, rules, or behaviors assigned to people based on their perceived gender. Because this would be a great time to say that we can't see gender. As much as we want to, as much as we think we may be able to guess, as much as we think we know, we never want to make an assumption about someone else. Because when you do that, you make an ASS out of you and umption. And you don't want to do that. Just let people give you the information about themselves introduce yourself with your name and pronouns, give people space to do the same. And as you interact and get to know them, you see how they move in the world, you get to learn who they are as a person. But also, I want to note that gender expression does not necessarily determine gender identity. I'll say that again. Gender expression does not necessarily determine gender identity. And we see this a lot in lesbian cultures, where you see masculine presenting women who people assume, quote unquote, want to be men. And that couldn't be furthest from the truth. They fully embrace their womanhood and their womanhood identity. But because their gender expression says one thing, people often make assumptions that are just incorrect. Or we see it also with feminine men or androgynous people who, so just because someone dresses androgynously or shows up in that way doesn't necessarily mean that they're a non-binary person and that they use they, them pronouns. It's not necessarily the case. Pronouns are also not attached to gender expression. Body autonomy, the inherent right of every person to make decisions about their own body without coercion, violence, or external control. And I think this is important because this is about health. This is about choice, personal choice. This is about access. This is about integrity and inclusion and equity. We all deserve body autonomy. And we all deserve the right to consent to how people interact, perceive, etc. with our being. And down here, you see a little figure here that kind of demonstrates some of this. You have identity in the middle, and that's how you see and experience yourself. You have expression, followed by attribution, followed by body. And all of these things exist and change in ways in which help you perhaps shape your identity, but none of these control or determine your identity. So as we're going through these terms, I invite you to share any thoughts. If there's anything that's new to you or things that are maybe more insightful, please continue to share that in the chat. We all learn and grow together, and ask thoughtful questions, ask responsible questions, ask respectful questions as we move through information. I just want y'all to know, like, the binary is a trap, though. Like, it's a cage. And I think, like, as we're having this conversation, I'm curious to know from y'all, like, have you identified like, what's one assumption or bias that you hold around gender? Some of them are things like, like me, I think if I'm with a woman or a feminine person, I'm always opening the door. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing to be a stereotype, but I wish I could define queer, because queer is like political, personal, social identity. Queer is not just about someone's orientation, but it's about the way in which they exist and move through the life. It's their politics, it's their beliefs, it's their way of being. Queerness can stretch and expand across cultures, across identities, across it can be global, and it's definitely taken shape in a different way, especially in Western culture, because queer, to be honest, used to be a derogatory term. And so people often define themselves and they create their own definition for queerness, but I think that would be like my definition for me. So think about bias and gender. Like, what expectations come with being a man or being a woman? Who benefits from these roles staying so rigid? And who's harmed when they don't fit? when you're constantly forced to shapeshift and code switch and be something or someone that you're not, when you're constantly informed and told that you don't exist and that you don't have a right to exist. But we absolutely have expectations and assign norms to these labels. And my question is always, why? Who does that benefit? When do we allow people to be the version of themselves? Come on, patriarchy benefits, period. And I don't mean to, like, jump on these terms that are like, very, that can be hot topic, but it's like, if we can't call a thing, if we can't name the thing, then how do we even begin to understand, to move to a space of growth and maybe even being able to do something different? Come on, lack of equal pay in sports. Come on. We just saw it. And we see it with the NBA and the WNBA, but there are sports where there is equity in pay, like tennis and soccer. They've really done some serious work. Is there more work to do? Yes, but like, there's models out there, so it don't have to be inequitable at this point. Inequality, and we're not talking about equal and equitable. Like, equal and equitable are different things, right? So we have to make that distinguish. But if we're talking about doing the same work, then we're talking about doing the same pay. Hello. Just taking a moment to just take some of this in. How can we imagine gender as a freedom practice? Because let's be honest, gender expansiveness does not mean gender confusion. It doesn't mean chaos. It doesn't mean that that people don't have values. But what we do have, and what we could have, if we could have gender as a freedom practice: self-determination, body sovereignty, choosing joy over survival, not needing permission to exist. Imagine gender as a freedom practice. Your expression, your identity, the way of being, how you show up, how people perceive and receive you, the gaze that you no longer have to be under, and not gaze, GAY, but gaze as in the way in which we look, view, GAZ. We won't be under that gaze of patriarchy, because let's be honest, it's also a gaze. The self-determination to be able to say that I am who I say I am. I'm exactly who I think I am. Like the kids say now, like the young people say it, I am who I say I am. Believe that. If you don't believe anything else. And I want that for everybody. We all deserve that. Especially when it comes to being a person of integrity, being a person who honors and respects other human beings just because they exist. Not for what they can do, not for what they can produce, not for how productive they are, but just because they exist. Friend, you are worthy of respect just because you exist. You are worthy of care just because you exist. Worthy of love, worthy of intentional thoughtfulness. We deserve that. Regardless of what a social construct will try to tell us. Marsha P. Johnson, activist, visionary, harm reductionist. She says, no pride for some of us without liberation for all of us. And I'm going to follow up. Collective liberation requires all of us. Because there's no such thing as an exclusionary revolutionary. To follow up with what what our revolutionary and our ancestor Huey P. Newton said. Absolutely, a trans person could be a revolutionary. Absolutely, a queer person could be a revolutionary. Absolutely, anybody under the LGBTQIA plus umbrella could be a revolutionary. Because I'm gonna tell you, there's no such thing as an exclusionary revolutionary. Quote that, stamp that, tell them Miller sent you and told you. There's no such thing. Because the sum of us is all of us. Not just one of us, not just a few of us, but the sum, S-U-M, not the sum, S-O-M-E. Hello? And freedom that excludes some of us isn't freedom. Period. It's not freedom. It's not freedom, friends. No matter how you slice it. It's not liberation. It's not inclusion. It's not freedom. It's not collaboration. It's not none of that. So I'm curious, as we enter the last quarter of our time together, a little bit of space for reflection and dialogue. And I'd love to know, please share in the chat again if you're live, or if you're here for the replay, like, please feel free to continue to engage in the chat. This is evergreen. Sankofa Summer School is here to stay for as long as it can be, and as long as y'all showing up and supporting. So please continue to engage with this, and don't forget to hit that like button. Hello, like, subscribe, share, whatever they say on YouTube. For our reflection and dialogue, how has gender shaped your life? Really think about this. Take these, and if you feel and you ready to share, and you got something that you can share of any of these in the chat, by all means. But you can also come back. Don't feel pressured or forced to do something right now. This ain't urgent. Progress is a growing process. It's a journey. So how has gender shaped your life? What liberatory practices are you reclaiming? Maybe it doesn't have anything to gender. Maybe do with the gender. Maybe you have a liberatory practice around your finances. Maybe you have a liberatory practice around what you're building around legacy. Maybe you have a liberatory practice around how you're connecting with your elders or ancestors or family, etc. Like, what's coming up for you? And what does showing up in the in your fullness mean to you? Take these down. Take these to your journal. Take these to your voice notes. And so as we're coming to a close, we're going to hold space and time for people if we need to go back to any slides, or take time for people to share any thoughts in the comments that we might be able to address live while we're here. Again, thank y'all so much for being in the space with us. But I would love for you to share this now, if you can. And for my introverted processors, you can give yourself a couple minutes. It's okay. I'm with you. It's okay. Go ahead and drop this in the comments. But I do want to know, because again, we're not just leaving here to just have a bunch of notes that we just are happy that we had a chance to be here and take these notes. We need to leave here with something that we're going to be able to go out here and do in the world for ourselves and for the people around us. But what are your closing commitments? What's one thing I'm taking with me? One way I'll honor someone else's truth this week. Go ahead, take some time. Thank y'all for your vulnerability. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for showing up in this space. Doing virtual work and working remotely is not for the faint of heart. And so y'all's energy, especially in the chat and how you've shown up and given me that really has allowed for me to be able to show up in this space. And I'm feeling very full right now. So as you're sharing, just know that we are witnessing and we are here with you. So thank you. The closing commitments. One thing I'm taking with me. One way I'll honor someone else's truth. We love to see it.
Can I jump in?
Please.
Okay. I love this. The close, as you're thinking about these closing commitments, I'm just want to kind of jump in and just again, thank you, Miller, for coming and being in this space with us and holding this space for us. I know that there are people who probably didn't even know they needed to center their bodies and to kind of disconnect and have these conversations. And I know that someone is going to watch this next day, next week, next month, and it's going to feel like, this is where they need to be. So I just want to show appreciation to you for doing this, for supporting our school, for supporting this mission of liberation through education. I really, really, really appreciate you.
Yes. Yes. And I see y'all dropping the commitments. Thank you. Yes. Reading up on more people like Fred Hampton. Yes. I mean, and just do y'all know that the free lunch program that the kids get in school right now was because of the free lunch program from the Black Panther Party? Do y'all know that? And that was spearheaded by folks like Fred Hampton. Like, we're not talking about little stuff. I mean, the AKAs is the reason that we got mobile blood banks. Like, don't play with me. Like, I mean, we out here, y'all. Yes, being more vocal and supportive of others and determining my personal definition of queerness. Yes. One commitment for you, one commitment for us. That's how we do this. One commitment for you, one commitment for us, because it's Sankofa, right? It's go back and get it, right?
That's what we're doing. We return to the source. We got to return to the source.
Come on.
And what I really love about the conversations related to gender in our culture is just kind of like, I always challenge people from everything you know about your ancestors across the continent of Africa. Did you really think that they were just average? You don't think that they would have these elevated ways of being? You don't think that they would not want to limit? You think they were limiting themselves? No, they're going to have 20 genders. They'll have as many as they want because they wanted to live free. These were animistic people. They believed in the spirit of everything around them. So why would they not allow for the differences between them and the manifestation of spirit? Like, I mean, I'm trying to get people to dig into their cultural consciousness that they claim that they have. But I'm like, if you truly do, then you have to understand the expansiveness of all of this.
I mean, because nature will tell you. I mean, it'll show you. Just being out there, that is the cultural consciousness is just, yes, like, come on. I see y'all. Come on. Gender can be an exploration. It doesn't have to be a costume. Come on. Despite people's view they can place on my gender expression, I need to commit to forming my own expression and pronouns. Let's go. Come on. Because be you and be yourself. That's what I'm talking about. Up on the screen, and this I'll make sure I get this to Dr. Taylor so it can be added so that the team, the summer school team, can add it to our in y'all's handbook. If you haven't already checked out the handbook, don't forget to do that. The handbook got a lot of information, a lot of follow-up, and there's a lot of opportunity for you to be accountable to yourself and us as you moving through this work. So there's a resource and tools list in there, so make sure you get this. But I just wanted to drop a couple things. Like I said, the Combahee River Collective Statement, a book by Raquel Willis, who is an open and out Black trans woman and activist and author. She wrote the book, The Risk It Takes to Bloom. We talked about Kara Page and Erica Woodland, The Healing Justice Lineages. And then I'm also dropping there Prentice Hemphill's What It Takes to Heal. And then, for further exploration, queer and trans mutual aid initiatives, expanding your cultural consciousness, like Dr. Taylor just said. Like, these are all things that we can do. Use the Googles, use the libraries, because they still exist. Hello, libraries. Look, before y'all go, please take a minute and scan this. If you got your phone, take a minute or come back to this, because once we put these up and scan and enter the code, yes, it takes 2 minutes. If you could just share with me your experience with the space, help me become a better facilitator. Because like I said, I am a lifelong learner, and that also means taking and receiving acknowledgement, feedback, and praise. So don't, you know what I'm saying? You don't just got to come with the feedback. Feedback can be both positive and negative, friends. So give me your honest experience of the space. You can find me on any socials that I'm on. I'm under @ThankYouMiller. Website thankyouMiller.com. And if you want to start a personal chat, you can always reach out. Support @thankyouMiller.com is the email. But again, please scan that. Scan this QR code. If not, I will get it to whoever I needed to get it to make sure that it can get posted to the video on YouTube or however they do links. I'm not familiar with that, but I know technology.
No, it'll be fine. It'll all go through. So okay. Don't worry about it.
So there y'all go. It has really, again, been an honor. Dr. Taylor, I want to say thank you to you and for what you're doing and making this liberation and education accessible to all of us, not just some of us. Because you got I don't even know 50-11 jobs or whatever it is that you do outside here, but I know it's more than just this. And so thank you for taking the time to personally interview, and like the attention and intention that you put behind this has been really beautiful to be a part of. So thank you so much.
Thank you. No, again, this is my love labor. This is my passion project. So the honor is totally mine that you came to share your energy in this space. You mind if I close it up?
Please.
Everybody say thank you, Miller. Put a one for thank you, Miller. All right. All right, y'all. So thank you so much. This has been day 2. Be sure to check us out in day 3, the next video, and you can it'll pop up if you registered. You can go and check it out. We will see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Once again, thank you all. Thank you for coming to Sankofa Summer School. Please make sure to go to sankofasummerschool.com/donate and support our programming so that we can pay Miller and all the other people and make sure that our instructors, the people who bring this energy and this effort, are compensated for the things that they do. All right. So thanks, y'all. We'll see you soon.